Hi everyone, so in today's video we're going to have a look at paper and card for AQA A-Level product design. So typically this will be on paper 1, the 2.5 hour paper. So in terms of what you need to know in the content for paper and card is the different types of paper and card and the properties that they have, the stock forms that they come in, how it's formed, how it's printed, and then how to select the right material for what you want. Now, the formed and printed parts of what you need to know will be covered in another video when we actually look at forming processes as a video. In fact, that's already up on the YouTube channel already, so do have a look at that. So the main thing we're going to look at is the different types of paper and card and then the stock forms that they come in as well. So if you've already watched the videos in order, with metals, plastics and timbers, we talked about understanding you can't just say something's made out of paper or card or metal or wood, because that gives you no marks. And the way you specify what specific material you want depends on the properties that it has. And typically in exam questions, they'll use statements like explain why this material is suitable for this job. So explain why this card is suitable for high-end packaging, or explain why this paper is suitable for textbooks. So they've been specific of the use, and the properties of those specific types of paper and card make it more or less suitable depending on what it is. Obviously, with paper and card, they don't have the same types of properties as woods, metals and plastics. You don't have things like tensile strength or elasticity or conductive strength or anything like that. This is more, generally they are what known as compliant materials. So what that means is that you can cut it, you can score it, you can fold it. So like things with craft knives, you can cut into a net, you can fold it over, that type of thing. Also, please do avoid sweeping statements where you just say, oh, it's paper, it's card, it means it can all be recycled. Because normal paper that you see on a regular basis, like A4 line paper, that can be recycled. So most can be recycled, but actually, as soon as you start mixing more than one material together, so as soon as you laminate something or you print onto it, it then starts to make it very difficult to recycle. And once you make something difficult to recycle, it will then just be chucked and set in a landfill. Now, actually, most paper products, or pretty much all, will biodegrade quite quickly, so it's not a big issue, but some of them can't be recycled once they've been coated, like a wax coating or something like that. So just try and avoid sweeping statements like it can be recycled, or it's just paper, or it's just card. So the first thing to point out is what we've got written at the top up here is GSM. So what that stands for is grams per square meter. So that is basically how paper or card is measured, how it is defined. So the magic number, now if you, depending on where you look, this number will be different. Some sources say it's 200, the textbook says it's 220. Basically anything under 220 grams per square meter is classed as paper. Anything over 220 GSM is classed as board or card. So there are plenty of different types of paper. So everything on here now is considered paper because it's under 220 GSM. If you've done fine art or anything like that, some of these will be more familiar to you. So things, let's go with like layout paper. If you've ever had like a little sketch pad, like the one you got here, so thin translucent paper, so you can kind of see through it a little bit. Nice smooth surface, really good for sketching, technical drawing, and you can trace over it a little bit as well. You've then got cartridge paper. So you should have a sketchbook in A-Level product design. It's one of the requirements that you need to bring with the course. And it's that paper that's basically a little bit bumpy, like texture to it, not quite white, a little bit creamy sort of colour, and it's perfect for sketching and rendering with pastels and pencils, not pens because it will bleed a little bit, but it's ideal for sketching. Next you've got treated paper. So this is treated paper that you can make, basically a paper that you can basically make it so it can have a matte or a gloss finish that you can print photographs on and make it really, really nice, have a nice, good quality, clean photo finish. Next you've got watercolour paper. So this is available in absorbent or smooth. So it is heavily textured. And basically, watercolour, it will allow you to do watercolour painting, so it won't bleed the ink the paint at all. It will hold the paint very, very well. And then you've got bleed-proof paper. which is similar to cartridge paper but has bleed-proof layer on it. So what I said with cartridge paper is you would render in pencils and pencil colours, but not pen because it would bleed. Bleeding is essentially if you ever get like a say a Sharpie pen or a fountain pen, and if you just hold the nib of the pen onto the paper, and the ink starts to disperse around the page, that's bleeding. Bleed-proof paper essentially stops that from happening, because some people really like rendering with pens as opposed to pencils, and obviously you can't do that with cartridge paper, but you can do it with bleed-proof paper instead. So we've then got metal effect card. So this is a really, really high quality, thin piece of card that has got a metal surface over the top of it. It normally has a very, very high end sort of look to it. You can emboss on it. So embossing and debossing. So embossing is when you have like the lettering sticking up. Debossing is when you have the lettering sticking down and it's basically pressed into it. So typically it's used for things like gift boxes or really high end packaging. Also, it's quite fancy business cards and those types of things as well. When we talked about how things can be recycled or not, because you've basically covered something in a thin layer of metal, this now cannot be recycled because you've mixed more than one material together and it becomes quite challenging to do. Then down at the bottom, we've got duplex board. The duplex board is made of 2 layers of paper, where the outside one is more water resistant to give it a glossy look and a bit of a waxy feel. That makes it quite difficult to recycle. It's used quite a lot in like things like food packaging, like juice cartons. If you get your milk out of cartons, I suppose, or bottles, those types of things. So it's waterproof. You can print on it, so it's really, really good. But yeah, because you got the waxy sort of glossy thing, it makes it a bit more difficult to recycle. And then you've got fold back and laminated card. So similar sort of way, is it's waterproof. Excuse me. So it's covered with a plastic film or foil over it, so normally on the interior at least, and it's sort of insulated because that'll essentially, if you've ever had like a carton of orange juice, you see on the inside it's sort of like silvery. That's what that will be. It keeps things fresh. If you're going to recycle it, you need to actually remove that foil, which they do tend to do now. There's a bit more easier way of doing it. So a couple of overlaps with duplex board and fold back card in terms of like drinks packaging and that type of thing. The more common one will be fold backed and laminated card for your orange juice, your apple juice sort of cartons, those types of things. So now we're going to over 220 GSM, so over 220 grams per square meter. So this is now considered card. So the first one is corrugated card. So this is one really, really common. Most people, when they think of card, they just say this is what they're thinking. So what it has got, if you can see on the moving section here, is basically like little waves on the interior of it. So you've got 2 layers of it, and then the middle layer. And what that does is essentially protects it from impact. And that doesn't mean that you can run something over your car or you can throw it out the top story of a building. But it does give it a bit of like suspension, a bit of protection if you were to knock into something a little bit. So it's used quite a lot for protective packaging. It's also very useful for prototype making, particularly at A-level in like quick little models, bit of glue gun, knife, and then you can make models pretty well with it actually. Molded paper pulp, which we've got down at the bottom here. So if you've ever been to a drive-through, go for like your Mackies or whatever, your drinks will normally come in something like this. It is very eco-friendly because it's literally just recycled paper pulp, and it's just dried and molded into a specific shape. Excuse me. It's used for like egg boxes as well, and also some electronics. It's not bleached or treated or anything like that because it doesn't need to look nice. It's literally just effective, eco-friendly packaging that can hold things in place. So it's actually used quite a lot. Next, you've got bleached card. So it's almost the exact opposite of molded paper pulp. Once you've got your pulp and you're making the paper, typically you will bleach it to give it a certain look. So with bleached card, it's treated to make it like a really bright surface, so you can do really good quality printing on it. So when you buy like your birthday cards and things like that, that's what you're getting. And then mount board, which is compressed fine cotton fibres that makes they compress quite a lot to make a rigid board that is typically used for presenting artwork. So if you go to university and do exhibitions and that sort of thing, that's the kind of card that you will have. So these ones here are a little bit different. So these aren't actually paper or board, but they're actually polymer-based sheets, and they're still considered like compliant material. So the first one, LDPE sheet. Now LDPE, again, if you've already seen the plastics video, stands for low density polyethylene. So it's very tough, comes in thin sheets, and there's really good chemical resistance. So it's used quite a lot for food wrapping, think like cling film, that sort of thing. Air pillow packaging, so that is obviously back in the day they used to have like the styrofoam peanuts, but nowadays if you buy things and you get like the little bags of air that essentially stop things from breaking, so that's what that is. And then it's dead easy to recycle. And plastic carrier bags as well. Then you've got Plastizote foam, which is a closed cell polyethylene foam, which is really tough, pretty flexible, and good impact resistance. And that is pretty much what every single swimming float um, that you have, so you're like the pool noodle or the little float that you used to learn how to swim on. That's what all those are made out of. Gym exercise mats, the little martial arts mats like the interlocking mats, those sort of things. And then they're also really good for sound and pipe insulation as well. Then you've got cellulose acetate, which is transparent, tough, and it naturally biodegrades really well. So that is used for packaging film and photographic film. And pretty much the same thing with polylactide, which is the same thing, pretty much transparent, tough, naturally biodegrades, and again, it's just biodegradable packaging film. So these are used in transies a lot more because they biodegrade quite well. So you've then got foam board, which some of you may have worked in before. It's really, really good for architectural models. So you got two outside layers of card, and then in the middle is foam, and you can get it in loads of different thicknesses. And essentially, you'll just score it with a knife. You can fold it over. You can make some very, very detailed models, as you can see. It's not just used for architecture models. You can use it in the prototyping, but its most common use probably is things like architecture models. Next, you got fluted PP. Now, PP stands for polypropylene. So essentially, those flutes are almost like corrugations, like with corrugated cards. If you look on this picture on the right, basically you got these little like channels, I guess you could call them, which make it quite a rigid piece of plastic. They're really good to work in. They are using things like construction site signs, estate agent signs, those types of things. You can make boxes from them because they're quite lightweight, and they're okay for prototype model making. Not quite as good as foam board, but they're quite rigid. You're pretty easy to cut and score and mold and those sorts of things. Then you've got translucent polypropylene sheet. So it's a very tough polymer sheet. So you can score it, so you can bend it. So by scoring, essentially what we mean is you can cut into it, but you don't cut all the way into it. You sort of cut like a third of the way or half of the way, and then you can sort of bend it, and that'll make it almost like a hinge. Polypropylene sheet, and I have some in the workshop, is almost impossible to tear, and it's completely water resistant, so it's really good for some things. I use a lot for packaging, folders. You might use it a little bit in modelling sometimes. And then styrofoam, which is dense, close cell form. You probably know it as being blue modelling foam. If you ever used it in secondary school, typically now it doesn't come in blue. For some reason, it's now grey modelling foam. That's what we use in the first year to do your prototype modelling in your workshop induction. And main use really is for prototyping. It's perfect because it's a compliant material. You can score it. You can pretty much use every single workshop tool with it. You can sand it. You can file it. You can cut it. So it's got a lot of good uses in prototyping. So stock forms. So stock forms, simply put, are essentially the standard uniform sizes that materials can come in. There's a reason why you can't just go into a shop and go, oh, I need a piece of paper, it's loads of paper that is 216 centimetres by 11 centimetres wide, because people will look at you like you're insane. The whole reason why you have stock forms and uniform sizes is that it just makes it a lot easier to manage materials. You know how to order everything. So you go from A0 all the way down to A6. So the bigger the number, the smaller it is. The most common thing you probably use is A4 for things like your sketchbooks and notepads, and then A3 when you're doing bigger bits of drawing. If you do art, you may well use an A2 or an A1. There are slightly bigger ones, which are SRAs. So they're for commercial use, and the reason why they're slightly bigger is that it allows for bleeding over the edge. So if you imagine when you're printing it on a big like blotter cutter, or blotter printer, sorry. So you imagine your paper here, the edges, so the ink will overspill, and then you'll trim around the edges so you get a nice finish to it. You can also do things like laminating, so you're adding strength material by sort of fold backing it, or you're going to add protective layer over it, so it means it will last a bit longer. Okay, so there are 9 questions to answer there. Pause the video and then answer the questions. Aim to give yourself 10 minutes, and then I'll put the answers on the video for you. Okay, so that is paper and board. If you've got any questions, please let me know and I'll get back to you.